everyone, it's Junie checking back in with all of you. I hope all of you are doing well. I was asked by a subscriber to look at Amy Bradley, a missing girl from 1998 who was on a family cruise ship with her family and went missing. I want to upload a news clip from her brother that I saw that I thought was interesting and had some important clues in it as well. So I'm going to play that clip at the end here. If there's any information that you have about Amy Bradley, please leave it in the comment section below. I'll try to pull her astrology. I'll pull some tarot on her and see what we come up with. I'll try to get that fit in for you guys this week. Okay, here's the news clip. Take care. I'll see y'all soon.
And I'm hanging out there, talking to them for, 20, 30 minutes. And, it's like 3:30 in the morning. And knew we had to kind of get up pretty early the next day. So one other point I'll make is while I'm out there sitting, I see Crystal Roberts and Lori Rennick, who later we can talk about. Those are the two girls that claim they saw Amy go up the elevator with Yellow between 5:30 and 6, at the time frame she was missing. So I see them out there, and they're walking around, and so I, tell the girls, hey, I'll see you tomorrow. I got to go to bed. Go back to the room. I think it was 3:35, if I'm not mistaken, that I
keyed in.
Hit the door. My parents are sleeping, so I sneak out on the balcony, and I still had a drink in my hand, and I'm, out there hanging out. And, 5 minutes later, literally, Amy comes sneaking out on the balcony with me. So we're out there, both of us have been not crazy drinking, but everybody had been drinking pretty much all night.
Right.
And Amy was not a rookie in that regard. So she handled alcohol very well, much better than I did. And we're out there talking, having a normal conversation. She does mention that Yellow made an advance and touched her chest or tried to grab her boob or something like that. Don't remember exactly what she said, but she kind of laughed it off. It wasn't really, she didn't make a big deal of it, but she did mention that he kind of made a physical pass at her.
Yeah.
And she was like, yeah, I don't think so, buddy. So, we sit out there, and she's asking me about, what is there to do on Curaçao? And I'm like, I've never been there. I don't know. We might be able to go jet skiing, or, who knows what. I'm not sure. So I said, okay, it's like, a little after 4 in. I said, we got to get up in like 3 hours. Like, I'm going to go ahead and go to bed. So back up, when we left from San Juan initially, if you've ever been on a cruise ship for the first time, the boat starts kind of moving, and you get a little seasick, and it's kind of like, you don't feel too good. And she had that feeling initially. She got her sea legs and kind of got used to it, on the way to Aruba. When the boat left Aruba at 1 a.m. during the pool party, she kind of got that don't feel too good feeling. And then we're sitting on the balcony, and when I tell her I'm going to bed, she's like, yeah, I don't feel good. This wind feels good. I'm gonna just stay here in the chair. And so I said, I love you. See you tomorrow. And that, you've heard me maybe say on other interviews that has truly been very comforting to me. That was the last thing I ever said to her. She said, I love you too. I go inside, slide the door closed quietly, and I'm sleeping just inside the sliding glass door on a pull-out couch that she and I were sharing in my parents' room. Next morning, my parents wake me up with the panic look on their face, and you could tell something wasn't right immediately. And they told me that they couldn't find Amy. So I kind of sprung up, like, what do you mean? And they said, my dad explained that he woke up around 5:30 or so, kind of looked over at us, saw just me, looked a little further. The curtain was pulled kind of halfway, so he could see her legs from the knees down, sitting in the chair still. And he's like, well, we're going to get up in a half an hour.
I'll just let her sleep.
I'll just leave her there, and I'll wake her up when I get up. So he wakes up a half an hour later. The door's now open 12 or 18 inches. Her cigarettes and lighter were gone. Her sandals were still on the balcony, but the shirt she was wearing when I went to bed was a yellow little polo shirt over top of a white tank top bodysuit was draped over the chair inside the room. So we imagined that she left the room for some reason, came in, went out to either see us coming into port. When you get to Curaçao, there's a ton of colorful buildings, and it's really cool looking. There's this huge bridge that spans over the canal. She was in a photography contest, so maybe she went up to take some pictures. Maybe she went just to watch the boat come into port. Or maybe she went back out to meet somebody who had arranged for her to meet them for some reason.
Mm-hmm.
So I get up. My parents actually, they say, stay here. We're going to go look. You be here in case she comes back and we miss her. So I sat there for another, 20, 30 minutes and kind of nervously wondering what's going on. And they finally come back to the room and say, okay, we can't find her in the general area. Will you come help us? So we all go out walking around down the hallways, through the public areas, the atrium, up on the pool deck, up around the disco, towards the front of the point of the ship, walk around the back of the ship, around the walking track, and, nowhere to be found. So while my parents are still looking and talking to other people, I'm sitting at a table by myself, adjacent to where the pool was, and realizing that this is bad,
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know what to do. I don't know where to go next. And Alistair Douglas walks up to me, yellow, and the first thing he said to me, I think this was probably close to 7 a.m, maybe even still before then, and he walks up and says, he's like, hey man, I'm sorry to hear about your sister. And I say, yeah, thank you. Not thinking how the heck did he know
this fast, right?
Something bad had happened.
Right.
I don't even know, and I'd have to check my timelines. I'm not even sure we had reported it to security yet. We may have. I have to get back to you on that. But anyway, he says, yeah, I left her at 3:40 or 3:30, and went back to my room. He was like, when did you last see her? And so I'm like, well, I got back to the room about 3:30. He says, hold on a second, I want my brother to hear this. So he interrupts me. He walks about 50 feet over the other way where I guess his bandmates were sitting, brings one guy back over and says, okay, go ahead. And so, okay, I'm like, all right, well, I was with, we were in the disco. I was with her. I left the disco. I went back to the room at, 3:35. And then she came in 5 minutes later and then, proceeded to kind of tell him what had happened and what my timeline was and when I last saw her and all that stuff. So, I don't know where to go next from here. I think we went to the purser's desk to report her missing, speak to the head of security, and
then supposedly they start this search of the boat, right? Which is every nook and cranny, every corner, every closet. They say.
Well, that's a little bit later. So the first thing was Mom and Dad were obviously losing their minds.
Right.
Very hysterically emotional, demanding that they keep the doors shut, don't open the gangway, don't
to Curaçao, don't let everybody
off the boat.
Right.
So the time frame that I think is important for everybody to realize that she disappeared in, we're not in the middle of the ocean. Mm-hmm. We're at Curaçao.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, please don't let anybody off. Like, shut everything down. We got to find our daughter. We can't find her. And they say, we're not going to do that.
Mm-hmm.
So please make an announcement. Go over the loudspeaker. Let everybody know that we can't find Amy, and everybody, keep a lookout for her. We're not going to do that. It would disturb the other passengers. So okay. So I think it was probably 36 to 48 hours later, could be wrong on that time frame, where they made a a general announcement, Amy Bradley, please come to the purser's
Wait,
desk.
that long?
I believe it was. I don't know. Take it back. The initial page that they made was, Amy Bradley, please come to the purser's desk.
Right.
Amy Bradley, please come to the purser's desk. What I think they wouldn't do is
Alarm anyone.
make the passengers aware that there was a missing person, or put pictures of Amy out, which they later did, 2 days later.
Right.
Because they didn't want to disrupt other people's good time. So they instructed us, go back to your room, we'll come to you. Captain comes to our ship later and, assured us that they had done a complete search of the boat. Quote unquote, anything bigger than a bread box was searched, which we later found not to be true. They searched restrooms and public areas and electrical closets and some things like that, but not all the crew's cabins or the passengers' cabins or anything to that degree. But they convinced us that there had been a proper search done. They had confirmed that she was not on the ship, and that it was their suggestion that we get off on Curaçao because there was an ongoing water search in the canal at the mouth of the island where the canal starts. They had scuba divers and boats with radar and planes and helicopters, and even the ships, right outside the island were doing these grid patterns, searching every inch of the water. And they said, if Amy's found in the water, you want to be there. So we said, well, yeah, okay. So we got off the boat. President of my dad's company at the time and his wife were there, and they got off the boat with us to help us. We were in no condition to handle a whole lot or make decisions or figure out what to do. So they, got us a room in this hotel on the waterway.
Where you were just waiting for information and people to communicate with you.
Yeah, we were calling family. My mom was on the phone with her brother trying to get the FBI involved and to get them on the ship, and which my uncle facilitated, by the way. And I'll get into when that happened later. And it was a bad scene.
Yeah, I'm sure.
A lot of crying. My dad was so upset. He was throwing up and vomiting blood at one point. He was not in good shape. Mom was in a fetal position on the bed. We contacted my girlfriend at the time, Erin, who's in the documentary, and let her know what happened. And we're kind of just talking to the family, who I think by that time had all convened at the house. And so
at this point, I mean, in your mind, they're searching the water, but in your mind, was there any chance that she had jumped or fallen? Was there any?
No.
Okay, so you're seeing them do this, thinking to yourself, like...
Well, the only way that I thought possibly that she was in the water if someone threw her off the boat.
Right.
But again, we're not in the middle of the ocean.
Right.
We're in a place where you're right at the mouth of the island. You're right at the island, and there's tugboats coming up to hook up to pull you through the canal. There's
activity and
the
people,
sun is up.
Right.
Right. So, or it's coming up. It's sunrise, and so no. To answer your question, she 100% didn't jump off the boat. Not only because she wasn't a distraught person. I know some parts of the Netflix documentary and some of the sentiments online was that she was gay and struggling with it. Amy wasn't struggling, in my opinion. It was well known for years. I think the Netflix documentary makes it seem like she had just come out to us prior to going on the cruise. She came out to Mom and Dad and me in 1995. So it had all been water under the bridge. I mean, we were one of the tightest families and closest families you will ever know. Amy and I's relationship were like best friends. Mom and Dad, all that stuff about her having any type of contentious relationship with my parents in regard to that is total BS. So she had just graduated from college. She had just gotten a new apartment. She had just gotten a puppy English bulldog, which she had wanted her whole life. She was writing postcards to friends, making plans when they got home. She was taking tons of photographs, was going to enter some sort of photography contest when she got home. So she had no plans other than returning home and continuing on with her new job she had just gotten, all these things. So zero chance she jumped. Zero chance she ran away. And zero chance she accidentally fell over. Be as drunk as you want to be. If you're 5'6", you're not going to accidentally fall over a 4-foot tall rail. And I don't know exactly how tall they are, but they're like up to my armpits.
Right.
Especially when you wouldn't even get close to the rail at any point during the cruise. I don't know if I mentioned this in our previous conversations.
She had a bit of a fear of the edge of the...
Oh, she wouldn't come near it.
Yeah.
When we first got on the boat, I'm leaning over the rail on the 8th story looking straight down at the water. Like, oh my God, come look at this. And she was like, nope.
No thanks.
Wouldn't even walk towards the rail. So in no scenario did she accidentally fall over. Did she climb on the rail? I know the Netflix thing kind of made it seem like the FBI said maybe there was a table pushed up against there she could have climbed on. Didn't happen. So no. But there was one possibility that she was thrown over. And I guess that's what, at the time when they're doing the water search, that's the only possibility that we could have possibly had in mind.
I mean, I find myself sighing as you're telling the story because I'm stressed just hearing your stress. It must have been horrifying. It's literally, I mean, to be in that environment, first of all, it's unfamiliar. You don't know anybody. Your family's not there. You're in the middle of a trauma and people are drinking pina coladas next to you. I mean, that's like it's just, they don't go together. You know what I mean? And you're trying to process all of this. And I'm sure, I mean, at least it seemed from the documentary, and correct me if I'm wrong, that the cruise line, Royal Caribbean, was not in any, great way trying to help you guys. I mean, the delay of the message because people were sleeping, and then sort of just generally wanting to suggest that she probably jumped. Am I wrong there?
They like, get off the ship, we have to leave and go to the next island kind of thing.
Yeah. I just mentioned this because of the cruise director's comment about, look, you quoted it because I'm sure you've seen it multiple times, but he said something to the effect of, look, we can't ruin thousands of people's vacations just because one girl went missing. I mean, that hit me, and she's not my family. You know what I mean? That was a striking comment to make. Yeah,
life goes on, cruises go on.
But
apparently.
Right. Yeah. Do you think that was the mindset? Do you think he was accurately reflecting what the mindset was at that point?
Yeah, I don't think they had. We made an analogy that if at the time Clinton was president, Bill Clinton, and of course he was because Hillary never was. But anyway, Bill Clinton was president, and we made the analogy that if Chelsea Clinton had been missing, that boat would have been anchored in the same spot until she was found.
Yeah.
They wanted us off that boat. They wanted to move on. They were interested in
preserving the vacation of the rest
preserving
of
their liabilities.
Right. So when you got off, they went on with their scheduled departure. On time departure. So like nothing really for the rest of those passengers on the boat. I mean,
and nobody really knew what was going on.
Right.
I don't think it was until we got back on the boat a day and a half later, we flew to, I think it was St. Martin or St. Thomas. I don't recall, but we reboarded the ship because my uncle had again facilitated the FBI boarding. Interpol was involved when we got back on the ship. Attorneys were present, introducing themselves as risk management, which as a 21-year-old, I had no clue what that was. I didn't know I was talking to their attorney.
Right.
But they made sure they were standing front and center by the time we got back on the boat. I don't know if you want to go into what happened in that hotel room.
We'll get into that in
Okay.
chapter 2 with theories.
Okay,
We're going to
okay.
get into the theory part, and I promise we will.